Goedenavond iedereen. De Stilboels zijn terug, eindelijk. Weer eens op antenne. We hebben vanavond een man die gewerkt heeft voor de Gaelic Company, de Hart Brothers, Ian McLeod en sinds enkele jaren op zichzelf bezig is. We hebben aanwezig bij ons Antony McCallum. Maar eerst introduceer ik mijn oude getrouwe vrienden Bart Ottevare en Gunther Monen van St. Mac. Goedenavond, heren.
Goedenavond.
Goedenavond.
En zie je het een beetje zitten vanavond?
Wel, ik zie het helemaal zitten, want ik heb iets met rokken. En ja, Anthony staat erom bekend om regelmatig zijn kilt te dragen. En ik blijf toch altijd zoiets hebben van, het is een soort rok, punt. Dus ik wil weten, is het waar of niet waar? Wat draagt een echte Schot eronderin?
Schoenen.
Iets hoger. Sokken, iets hoger.
Skeenlappen, hè?
Skeenlappen, ja. Oké. Kunnen we hem bijhalen of wil je eerst nog een beetje zeveren?
Ja, nee, ik denk dat de Bart sowieso even een oproep heeft. Want hij vertelde mij juist voor de show dat hem de 17e heel graag wil laten doorgaan. Dus, en hij zei me ook van, mensen, kom zeker af, als ik het goed begrepen had. Dus, en Bart, als extraatje, je had ook Limburgse vrienden die kwamen, hè?
Ja, ik weet het. Ik heb daarvoor jullie speciaal in de zaal helemaal van achter gezet. Hè.
Dus voor mensen die een handtekening willen, het duurt iets langer, want meer aan de zaal geraken.
Tegen dat ze vooraan zijn. Beste plaats achteraan.
Ja. Nu, Stef, als ik het goed begrepen heb, jij had ook nog een aankondiging, want je had voor komende zondag en de zondag erop ook nog enkele plaatsen vrij, als ik het meen, hè?
Ja, inderdaad. Door de welbepaalde ziekte zijn er enkele mensen afgevallen en zijn er plaatjes vrijgekomen. Dus zondag hebben we een bod met een keer onze 21-jarige viering. Dus een prachtige tasting waar er meer dan, ik denk, tussen de 5.000 en de 6.000 euro aan whisky open gaat gaan. Tijdens een dinertje. En het weekend erop komt Jurgen Vromans ook een dinertje verzorgen bij ons. En daar zijn ook, ja...
Jurgen wie?
Totally unknown for us.
Voilà. Genoeg gezeverd, hier is hij dan, the one and only Antony McCallum.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Oh, starting with drinking already.
I'm the only one who is sober at this time.
It's cold. I arrived in Germany, just at the border between France and Germany.
Oh, great,
Okay.
great place to stay. Or you'd rather be happier to be in France?
Well, I'm on the border, so I guess I could be 1 minute in one place, the other minute in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, and do they talk German there, or a little bit French as well?
Nein, Sie sprechen
Nein.
Deutsch.
Sie sprechen Deutsch mit Sauerkraut und Wurst.
You're related to France, isn't it?
A little bit, but like many Scots. There's something it's called the Old Alliance. You know, you can see it on the labels there. Oops. See on the right?
Yeah.
It says the Old Alliance.
Yeah.
So that's the Old Alliance that linked Scotland and France for many, many years.
And what's the connection? Because I'm not.
So I was born in France from Scottish mother and a French father.
Okay.
And so then I went back to Scotland, but I've lived more time in Scotland than I have lived in France.
Okay, but you do talk French.
I do speak French, and I also speak German because when, as a small child, when you go to school in France, it made no sense for me to learn English. So the only alternative to English is German.
Okay, okay, that's pretty clear. You could have taught Spanish or Dutch even, but not German. Yeah. But you have been in France for many times, so I can understand the German.
Which part of France are you coming from?
Normandy.
Normandy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's not that far from Great Britain. I wouldn't say England, but Great Britain.
Well, it's closer to England, yes.
Yeah.
So your father is French and he is called McCallum?
No, his name was Karen.
Okay.
I dropped his name when I was 18 and took my mum's name.
It's
Okay.
a great name, so it's a better choice.
And your mother is from the western part of Scotland?
Glasgow.
Oh, Glasgow. Yeah.
Glasgow. But our family originally is from the islands, so from the west coast. The McCallum lands is in Argyllshire. So the family was based in Bute, Tinnabrewich, all that area.
Okay, you're talking about your mom and the family, of course. You're wearing a kilt that's well known for the people who know you. Is it linked with the family, McCallum?
It is, yeah. That's the clan tartan of the McCallums, which is this one.
And can you explain what it means? Because for us Belgians, it's not clear what is what on the kilt.
Mm-hmm. So basically the tartan, each clan has their own tartan, and this is the modern version. There is an ancient tartan, which is slightly lighter in colours, but normally saying the colours relate to the land where the clan is. So in this tartan, you can see some sort of heather colour, some sort of, darker colour which relates to heather. Then you've got the green of the pastures, and then you've got some white, slightly mixed with the green, which again is because it's the coast, and the darker blue also for the sea. So you've got all the elements of the land where the clans were at the time. So depending on your clan, so our clan lands were in Argyllshire, close to the sea, in Bute. And also you can go even all the way down to Campbelltown. If you go down to Campbelltown, you'll see there's a street that's named McCallum.
Okay.
And the previous owner, or the original owner of Glen Scotia, was Mr. McCallum. So
And
these
was it all family in the old days, I mean?
I don't know. I haven't. It could be, one of the branches. It's a big clan. I have done our family tree up to 1740. I haven't gone further back, but we're not related directly to the previous owner of Glen Scotia.
Okay.
It's probably some indirect cousin, in some sort. We're all related when you're part of a clan.
Yeah, and you drink whiskey, so you are related. Okay, thanks for that. I always wanted to know that one.
But there's something that's quite funny as well, is that, the French side, which is Karen, if you go across Scotland, you'll see many Karens as well. You've got Loch Karen, you've got River Karen. So Karen is also, a Scottish place name and a Scottish name as well. There's a solicitor just down from my street, and he's Mac Karen. So there's again, that you could say that's probably the link of the old alliance, where a customer of mine in Italy, who was from Rimini, he said to me, Karen itself originates from Italy, but probably around about Venice. And, round about that area were actually the Celts. So it could be an original Celt name as well. Who knows?
Okay, quite some history. With that said, I think it's time for the first drum of this evening, just to warm up. If I'm right, it's the McPink.
Yep.
So for all the people who are joining us and drinking, brew it in, watch the screen. Steph is showing it.
So this was a special edition. That's the vintage 2013 for the Arbroath Declaration. See, vintage 2013. These were the first casks I laid down for the McPink when I started back in 2016.
Okay, it's a blend, or it's a blend and malt.
It is a blend, and obviously as a vintage, the year 2013 is the youngest of the components in that blend. So it is got older components, but the youngest one, which would be the grain whiskey, is 2013. Then the malts are actually older than that.
Okay.
So it's a very rich blend. It's a blend made in the old style, which means it's married, and actually more than half the life it's spent in the port cask. And it was a port pipe, so it's a larger cask. So 650 litres.
Okay. I'm curious.
1
Guys.
grain and 15 single malts.
Okay, that's a lot. Guys, what do you think about it?
And lots of also, what I try to do, and with the port casks and these 15 single malts and 1 grain, which is from maize rather than wheat, is to give you something that is got the style of a single malt, but it's going in different directions. So it's got the spiciness of the Highlands, it's got the smoothness and floral notes of the Speyside, and that's why on the picture you've got Robert the Bruce. So it's also it's not got Mary Queen of Scots on this version, because you'll see when you taste it, it's got a lot of spiciness, a lot of richness to it.
Let's have a taste.
I'm not joining you this evening. Sorry for that.
You lost your taste. You lost your taste, Gunther?
No. I didn't lose my taste, but it's been a heavy day, so it's better. I'm not tasting today.
And the strength is a higher strength than the normal version of the McPink. It's 46.2%.
Stein is saying, "Ooh, a strong one to warm up."
Exactly, for the winter.
A particular reason why you put it up a little bit higher?
It relates to this special edition celebrating the 700 years of the Declaration of Arbroath. I used basically the numbers that relate to the anniversary. So we celebrated the Declaration on the 6th of April.
Yeah.
It's
And
birthday.
2020. You've got the 20, 4620, 6, and 4 April.
Okay.
There is an idea behind it. How do you taste your whiskey, Anthony? I've heard the story about the first kiss, second kiss, and third kiss.
Yes, I do. I'm always making love to my glass.
So tell me more about those kisses.
You know, well, the first kiss gives me the primary flavors of my whiskey.
Yes.
The second kiss, where I'm taking a little bit more, will give me the secondary flavors. So on the first kiss, I'm only taking 1 drop, and that's going to give me the primary flavors. So the first drop gives you the fruitiness, the chocolatey notes, and some slight spiciness. But then there's a lot of sweetness as well coming through. The secondary, I'm going to take more. And just enough to cover your tongue. And they're the secondary flavors, a lot more spiciness, more richness, even some tobacco leaf notes. And that's going to give you the secondary notes, so the much richer notes. Obviously, there you have 15 different single malts within the blend, which are going to give you different flavors developing around your tongue. And at different moments, there'll be some coming back, some going away. And then the third kiss is making total love to your glass. So quite often the second one, I'll call it the French kiss or the Belgian kiss. It's like a delicate first kiss, when you're meeting someone, just a little kiss on the lips, just a very delicate one, just taking one drop.
That's not in Belgium,
In Scotland, that's traditional, even within the family, you kiss on the mouth. We're not like the Russians, but it is traditional in Scotland. With my grandparents, we always kissed on the lips. If you ever seen some pictures of our current First Minister, Nicola Sturgeon, with the previous one, Alex Salmond, sometimes you see pictures of them kissing on the lips. Not they were, they weren't in a relationship. That's just something that we do in Scotland. It's just our tradition. And so the third kiss, you're taking more, and this time you're swallowing. So you're getting the aftertaste as well.
And you mean swallow at once?
No. First you turn, and then you swallow.
Okay.
And then that's how you see if it's a good whiskey. If it's a bad whiskey, it's going to burn you, and you're not going to taste much, coming back. Whereas a good whiskey is just going to warm you up slowly, and then it's going to bring back all these flavors, the primary, secondary, and then you'll get the aftertaste as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. You got a lot of spiciness and tobacco in the taste.
Mm-hmm.
Cinnamon, tobacco, a little bit sultanas.
The chocolate or not?
Chocolate, red fruit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think the red fruit is coming from the port casks, the marriage.
It is, yeah. And these are 10-year-old ruby port casks, and these are the older ones, which were port pipes. On the younger versions or the newer versions of the McPink, I've gone for a mixture of port pipes and barrels.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So this is one of the original of the first edition of the McPink.
You ever tried it with food, Anthony? I know you're a food lover.
Yes, yeah. I've actually got a dinner where I've already done a few tastings where we've had food. I'm going to have a proper dinner as well in Strasbourg on the 15th of December, where we're going to have it as well as part of a dinner. But I've done previous ones as well where we had it in a dinner. Goes really well. I would marry that one with, some probably game, maybe venison. You could also go with beef and just with a little bit of foie gras around it. Something quite light, not not too rich.
Are you able to cook it as well?
Mm-hmm. Sorry?
Are you able to making it or just eating?
Oh no, I can cook it as well. Yes.
Okay.
He's a great cook. I've heard.
I'm waiting.
You can join the
Is there an
club.
invite?
My friends like to come to my house because I cook and they can eat, they can drink.
Oh, it's not just for the drinks.
And at the end of the evening, you need a bed as well. So.
Well, I have several sofas in the lounge, so.
Okay. Okay, guys, what do you think about it?
It's a nice one to start with.
Mm-hmm.
And to the viewers, do you agree with us?
Is
by
it
the
a
way,
secret? What kind of single malts there are in the blends?
Predominantly Speyside. Yeah,
Mhm.
so, you're talking about Linkwoods, Mortlach, sort of, top class single malts.
Mm.
and were you able to choose the whiskies yourself, or was it just what this is available and I have to do it with this?
That's a secret a blender doesn't reveal.
Okay.
But you've put it on a podcast.
I did, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And obviously you've took it away also. So you're the one who is saying this is quite right now to put it in a bottle.
Exactly. And also, the strength and, the length of maturation. And as I say, the mixture of different casks, because, I've moved from just pork pipes also to some barrels. And then there's a secret recipe there as well between, the first fill and the pipes and the barrels, and then some refills as well.
So you have a place where you can put them. You have your own warehouse or something like that.
I rent space in a warehouse. Yeah.
Oh, great.
For the time being.
Yeah.
And why the name Pink?
Pink because of the color that comes through it, through the port cask maturation.
Mhm.
The original McPink was also relating to the piece of art that was attached to it, which was with Mary Queen of Scots. And I basically created the whisky to image the piece of art.
Mhm.
Is it the same artist who is doing the labels?
Yeah, so the Ashley Cook, I commissioned her for the one you have on the Arbroath, and she created this piece of art, with Robert the Bruce on it, because that relates to the period of the Declaration of Arbroath. The whole Declaration of Arbroath was about putting forward Robert the Bruce as the future King of Scotland. He became, a few years later, King of Scots, and that's why he's on that image. And then on the background, you have the Abbey of Arbroath.
So the 6th of April was 1320 was the Independence Day of Scotland.
Scotland was already independent then. It was just a reaffirmation at the time where the King of England was trying to claim sovereignty over Scotland. So the clan chiefs gathered at the Abbey of Arbroath to sign a letter to the Pope in France, just to reaffirm the fact that Scotland was an independent nation and would never be brought under English rule, whatever happened, even if there were only 100 of them still alive. So it was a very strong letter that was written to the Pope, and that letter was basically asking for the support of the Pope in both continuing to recognise Scotland as an independent country, and also putting forward Robert the Bruce as the future King of Scotland to replace the existing one who was just supporting or listening to what the English king was saying.
Mhm.
So they gathered together basically to say, we don't want that king anymore. We want Robert the Bruce as the future King of Scotland, to replace William Wallace. So they needed another warrior to face England.
Yeah. For the
Have you-
viewers, spoiler alert, it didn't work out very well.
It did work out. It did work out, but it continues to be an issue.
Have you
For all these years.
have you studied history, or are you just proud to be Scottish? To be Scottish?
No, I did history as part of my my studies. I studied international relations, So it's and I did my thesis on the history of the UK, Scotland, Ireland, Wales.
And
So-
how did you get involved with whiskey then? Because that's something completely different.
Well, I moved from my studies into whiskey because whiskey is international relations, is it not?
Yes.
Into you guys in Belgium, you know, I'm an ambassador in a way for, you know, for my country, for the spirit we produce. So it was either to be a politician, you know, in an embassy, which I did a few years at UNESCO, where I was just a contractual worker, but it was interesting. And then I decided to move to Scotland, going back because my grandparents were getting old when I finished my studies. And then I joined Crabben na Linie in Skye, in the Isle of Skye. And that was my first full-time job in the whiskey industry. That was back in 1995, end of night. September, October 95.
How old were you then?
I can't remember.
13.
I was already counting. Okay, guys. Up
I
for
was
our
never
next,
good at mathematics.
next whiskey we will be tasting is the Altabane. By the way, the selection happens by Steph. That's why he's showing the pictures of the bottles, I mean.
So that was one of the first editions of the vintage bottlings. And I chose Altabane because it's not a very well known malt. It's also a Gaelic name, you know, which is for some people hard to pronounce. I think that's also what makes it interesting. As part of my first job with the Gaelic Whiskey Company, I had to be able to speak some Gaelic. So I went to summer school at the Edinburgh University to do a crash course on Gaelic.
I'm thinking of following some Gaelic lessons. They are do it online, yeah, because on the Isle of Lewis, most of them speak still Gaelic.
Yeah.
Most
Because
of
the only
Western
Gaelic I knew were a couple of words that my granddad had taught us, that he had learnt in the shipyards in Govan. He used to work for John Brown Engineering, and there were a lot of, you know, Gaelic speakers in the engineering teams. Because Glasgow basically is made up from Highlanders who came down, you know, for jobs after the, you know, the demise of crofters. So they all came down to Glasgow for jobs. So there's a lot of Gaelic speakers in Glasgow. And so the two words he taught me, apparently they're very bad words.
Can imagine that.
I won't repeat them because I'd be teaching you all bad words in Gaelic.
Yeah.
Try us.
Do you still speak it? Are you able to speak it?
I can say a few things. You know, I'm not fluent. I'm not fluent.
Okay.
Yeah.
But you understand it.
I can understand some words.
Okay.
Sometimes I look at, you know, BBC and Gale, so some of the Gaelic programs. I can't understand a lot of it. I can just understand a few things.
It's a bit like we're looking at an F-Planet series.
Some words in Gaelic don't exist. Like you'll hear them speak in Gaelic, and then they'll say computer or television.
Yeah.
Because these words didn't exist, you know, back originally. Language.
Yeah.
So we didn't invent a name, you know, for television in Gaelic. We just used the English version.
It's like in Limburg, hey Bart.
Yes.
They also say computer and television.
No, we don't have it yet, but we're able to speak it.
There are
It's like-
some words who are related to French. I saw a word, when you see it, it's you can pronounce it, but then when they speak it, it's like église, and that's a church. It's the same in Celtic or in French. It's the same pronunciation. So there is a relation between the French and maybe from, I don't know, 1500, 1600 years in this time. But there are some words who are basically the same.
Yeah, whereas in Scottish it's kirk, and that's probably closer to German,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
probably Norse as well.
Influence from the North, yes, of course.
Because I was reading an article yesterday about the whole influence of the Vikings over Scotland, but they don't actually think the Vikings were that fierce, and they weren't kidnapping all the women and raping them and killing everyone. They now believe they were just traders, and obviously some would have fought for some land because they did settle, but mostly they were friendly people.
Mhm.
And the women were marrying in not by force, but because they were probably handsome guys. Strong as well.
Yeah.
So let's talk about whiskey now. It's matured. It's matured on a Burgundy cask. A white
Yes,
Burgundy.
it is. Yeah, and it's from a small producer in Burgundy in Montley, who I appreciate, and he does really, really top class Burgundy wines. Florent Garaudet. He at the time, now he's expanded his vineyards because he's taken over some of his father's vineyards, who's just retired. But at the time of these casks, it was only producing 3 barrels from each of his wine types of Burgundy. So they're very, very small quantities, niche, and top quality. And that's what I'm looking for in terms of the barrels, and bring them really fresh over, and then fill them as soon as possible.
It's bringing a balance into the whiskey.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and I did 2 versions. One was in the white Burgundy, and the one you've got is in the red Burgundy, I think.
No, the white one.
Oh, it's a white one. Okay.
That's the white one.
Both.
Yeah.
I did
Both.
both. Yeah.
Oh, you did both. Okay. Was it
Well,
easy?
sorry, I was just wondering, while they were tasting, I wanted to. You had the previous bottles, it's like this series, and then you have the new series, the new bottle style, like this.
Yeah.
Why the change of bottles?
The one you've got for the Alta Vein was not my original choice. My original choice was this one, but because of Brexit, I couldn't get production for this bottle.
Okay.
Because when they first announced Brexit, and they had set a date for Brexit, which never happened, all the big producers, the big whiskey companies, were all producing a lot more whiskey or more bottles to be able to supply the European market before Brexit happened. So for that reason, I couldn't get this bottle produced, so I had to take one that was already in existence, was already in stock, to be able to launch. So that's why it moved from the original one of the Alta Vein that you've got to this new bottle.
Yeah.
It's just because of Brexit, nothing else.
Okay.
Like everything.
Blame it on Brexit.
Blame it on Brexit.
It needs a bit time, but then it opens up. It's really nice.
With the white wine, it's very, very subtle flavors in comparison to the red. The white gives a lot more Obviously, in terms of the wine itself, is quite mineral, and you're getting these mineral notes coming through. Again, I'm just working from my memory because I don't have all these samples with me in the car. Whereas the red version will give you more sort of red fruit notes. So that you've got more mineral and white fruit notes.
A certain freshness also in it.
Mhm.
Chris has a good suggestion. Get Scotland independent so we don't have a Brexit problem for whiskey. Anthony, it's all up to you now.
I don't know if you read, but there was a meeting between one of the Belgium MPs with Nicola Sturgeon last week, and they said that Belgium should prepare for receiving ferries from Scotland.
Jan Bon. Yeah.
Okay.
So we might be linked soon.
Mm.
Probably not. In a few years, I would like to see the great ferry line we had between Rosyth and Zeebrugge.
Mm-hmm.
We need a direct link with Europe.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
So I don't have to drive all the way through England and then through Dover to get to the continent.
Mm-hmm.
So much nicer, get on the boat, half an hour's drive, 45 minutes drive, on the ferry, overnight, nice dinner, nice drinks,
Yeah.
and then arrive the following late morning in Belgium. More nice food, more nice drinks.
And don't forget the people.
So let's call Jan Bon.
Okay, guys, what do you think?
That's a very nice one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love it.
In the beginning, I had some banana. I don't know why, but it's gone now.
Bert, there's a banana in your ear, Bert.
You sure you weren't drinking earlier on some Beaujolais Nouveau?
No, I wasn't.
Quite often in Beaujolais Nouveau, it's either bananas or else, black currants or that sort of thing.
Yeah, it's gone now, but I think there was something in my glass before.
Or was that dinner banana?
Pisang Ambon.
Pizza Jan Bon.
Your colleague Shilton is watching us as well. Fill the car boot with Belgian beers on your way back.
Shilton.
I think somebody will be very happy when he's coming back to Belgium. Yeah, I quite love this.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's not very well known, and I do love Altavane because it's very special. It's one of these not so good-looking distilleries because it was built or rebuilt in the 70s here. So it's not the nicest architecture, but it produces really lovely whiskey.
Normally they put it in blend, isn't it? It's from Chivas. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's one of these malts that's rarely bottled apart from through independence because it all goes into blending.
Mm-hmm.
like 100 pipers and stuff like that. I think.
And Valentine's and maybe other ones.
Yeah. If I'm right, there are not that many independent bottlings from Altavane.
No, because most people can't pronounce it. And then, how should I present it? I can't even say it.
I see it already. I want something from this one.
So I will buy a cask of No, Ardbeg.
20 times the price, but no, I can't pronounce it.
Not for me.
Well, when I was in Skye, with my first job at Prabin na Linie, their blend was Chivek, and most people can't pronounce it as well. T-E and then B-H-E-A-G. So most people just called it teabag. Can you give me a
To be honest,
teabag, please?
I thought it was the name.
2 glasses of tea back, please. which
I'm
one do
always
you,
thinking like, who the hell choose a name like that? Teabag.
which tea do you want?
And would you like some water in your tea bag? No, thank you.
And 2 sugars, please. No milk. Bart, where
Yes.
would you place it with? Which
I was just thinking the same.
Were you thinking, Bart, where do you place it with?
yeah.
I think with fish,
Mhm.
white
Yeah.
fish.
I would probably
From
say monkfish. I could say it with monkfish.
Mhm.
bouillabaisse
Uh,
for the sweetness.
bouillabaisse, as long as it's not too spicy.
No, so,
If you take a bouillabaisse from Marseille, then it's very spicy.
no, not that one. The Belgian ones.
Okay.
Yeah, with a lot of saffron in it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Langoustines.
Yeah, langoustines, yeah, would go well. Yeah.
Mhm.
lobster for the sweetness.
Yeah.
Coquille Saint-Jacques for the sweetness.
Yeah. Yeah.
With black pudding.
Yeah.
Apple.
Yeah, the way you do it. Lovely.
Like last time, huh?
Yeah.
Is it easy to get the whiskies from different distilleries or brokers or something like that?
It's probably less easy than it was probably when I started 20, 25 years ago, because there's so many independent bottlers, people who are trying to bottle their own. So there's, and the big distillers, there's such a expansion in demand for single malts worldwide. You're talking 25 years ago, a lot of markets didn't exist, whether it's Asia, South America, or even Africa, South Africa. So these are all fairly new markets. And, that demand creates supply issues even for, the bigger companies. So more and more people are keeping their stocks, so they're not trading in barrels, which, makes the market smaller in terms of supply chain for stocks.
And you never tried your cousin with Glen Scotia in Glen Scotia.
Well, now it's owned by I think the main shareholder is Chinese.
Your Chinese is not that good.
Well, it's again, it's basic. I did take Chinese at university.
I'm pretty sure they speak Gaelic over there.
I just know enough Chinese to know when they're asking things. I remember this is one of the episodes with Har Brothers when we went to Vinexpo at the show, and this Chinese lady came up to the stand, and Alistair said, "You deal with it," because I was taking care of sales and export sales. So he said, "You deal with this lady," and I didn't let her know that I spoke Chinese. And she was looking for a Dynasty decanter. This was the most expensive item that Hart Brothers produced at the time. It was a hand-blown Scottish crystal decanter, and on each of the 6 faces were solid gold medallions of each of the Stuart kings and queens. I think Mary Stuart was on it as well. So it was very, very valuable. Just the decanter empty was valuable. And then it was a 1966 Bowmore. I know it was a 1960s Bowmore. I can't remember if it was 1966. I think it might have been or 67 sherry cask matured Bowmore. So even the spirit was exceptional in it as well. And this lady came to the stand and she says, I want this bottle. And she says, I want to buy it. And she was offering us, I think, $500. I said, that's not happening. You can double that. At the time, these type of products weren't as expensive as they are today, back in the 90s. So I think we were looking for 1,200 or 1,300 pounds for it.
Sold.
But no, she was just offering $500. So I knew what she was wanting it for. It was for her boss back in China, because she was telling her her entourage who was with her. And she came back at the end of the show and offered $600. And I said, the price hasn't changed. It's still £1,300. And she turned around to her colleagues and said in Chinese, this is a disaster if I can't bring this back to the boss. And I pretended I didn't understand what she was doing. And she was like, he's going to give in. He's going to give in. And she kept going up, adding another $50, $100. And I said, nope, that's the price. And then she turned round and she left really infuriated. And I said, okay, in Chinese, they died again. And I said, thanks for coming and see you again in Chinese. And she turned around and her face was just like enraged. Because I could understand everything she was saying to her colleagues.
You made a friend that day.
Don't underestimate Antony.
So I'm a dangerous person because I can understand many languages. Not all of it, but enough to get around.
West Flemish, no.
West Flemish.
Try him.
I can understand Flemish when I drink a lot, and we call that double Dutch.
Okay, double Dutch. What's that? That's a boy. A boy.
West Flemish for beginners.
Yeah. You call it a sweater, we say a boy.
Oh,
Okay?
I thought the boy was the one in the sweater.
Yeah, that's double.
That's an old man.
Oh. Kan ik de microflaar van de frammen er... Tik er een stop in of zoiets.
Anthony, I would like to translate that part, but I didn't understand any word of it. So
We need it.
we need a translation as well.
So yeah,
That's
so double Flemish. You need two strong beers to understand it.
Yeah,
Let's
with
get-
West Flemish, it's more like 6 beers or 7.
Duels.
Let's get a third one.
So McWarrior. So McWarrior is a single Highland malt. What version have you got, Steph? Is that the port cask?
This is the sherry, the PX.
Ah, that was the original. That was the first version.
Yes.
So the first edition was a PX sherry cask. And then from version number 2, year 2, I moved to the port casks. So to the port barrels. Again, some people prefer the PX. Other people like the port. I like both versions. They're slightly different. The spirit in itself was the same spirit. It was just a move because of the difficulty to get top class PX casks. It's getting more and more difficult and more expensive. As you know, that a lot of the sherry production, the proper sherry production, is almost disappeared because not enough people are drinking sherry. I think it will get worse even in England, after the COVID crisis, because a lot of sherry drinkers, sadly, are probably no longer, many of them will no longer be with us. And the younger generation, don't drink sherry. I remember going on holiday to Ibiza with some friends, just for a short time. I had heard a lot about Ibiza, and I thought, before I get too old, that's a few years ago, I decided I need to experience Ibiza. And after my friends had left, I thought the last evening I'm going to go to have a nice restaurant on the beach, have a nice meal, and have a sherry as an aperitif. And the waitress, I asked her, I love some sherries, some dry sherries, and I ordered one, and she said, Jerez? I says, Vino de Jerez? She said, what are you talking about? They knew nothing about sherry in Ibiza, but I don't think they know about sherry in the north of Spain at all. You really have to go down to Jerez and Andalusia and the south of Spain, because you have to remember sherry was produced for the English and wasn't actually, produced for the Spanish themselves. So that's the issue with casks, is it less and less drinkers, so less and less available casks. So that's why I moved to port, because I have a really good traditional small port producer who can give me some 10-year-old port barrels every year. So the provenance of the cask is very important for me. So if I can't get the top quality cask, I would rather use something else. That was the reason for the switch between the PX to the port. But on the McWarrior, what you're getting is something very rich. On the PX version, you're getting a lot more chocolatey notes, but you're also getting some smoothness and a lot of even some sweetness, and that's why I say it's a warrior. But if you see on the image, it's Bonnie Prince Charlie, who was one of the last princes of the Stuart royal family. And so I say it's a warrior, but a prince warrior. So, he was a fighter, but also a prince. So you've got the elegance in it, but you also got the Highland, the typical Highland warrior in it as well.
Is the Pedro Jimenez, the PX, is that your favorite kind of sherry, or do you like the manzanillas or the...
I love manzanillas, yeah. I love PX. A manzanilla, that's the one I would drink with a meal, as an aperitif and then with seafood. I could drink a whole dinner, on manzanilla. I did that, down in the south of Spain. I had a dinner with just manzanilla sherry. On the PX, I see that as a dessert, wine. So it'll be nice with either dessert or after dessert. I mean, PX is a dessert on its own. The amount of sugar, if you get a really old one, I mean, it's lovely, but so rich.
Is it that the reason that it's making it sweeter?
It is, yeah. So that's what's giving it the chocolatey notes, even a bit, the figs,
Yeah.
like fig notes.
Dates.
Dates.
Yeah.
Whereas on the port version, you're getting, more red fruit and less of the chocolate or less of but you're still getting some of the dried fruits even in the port, but more sort of Christmas cake type notes.
I would put this one with some food with earthy flavors. Because of the sweetness, I would put it down with earthy flavors like beetroot and how do you say it in English? Cornichons, chicons, with love. Chicory.
Chicory, yeah.
Chicory, yeah.
Brussels
Some Brussels love, some
With love
bitterness
from
in
Brussels.
it. With love from Brussels, yeah. Some the bitterness in it, earthy flavors.
Mhm.
What? Halt?
Sie gungs me aspe.
Yeah. Yeah.
What?
Chicory with Jan Bon.
Yeah.
Gammon.
Gammon, yeah.
That's what I had for dinner last night.
Jan Bon.
Chicory with ham? Typical Flemish.
In Germany.
My mum agreed.
To the viewers, before we started, I said to Anthony, it's like our last chat online was only with me, and it was a bit off, but then those two guys came along, and it went completely off the grid. So, ta-da! Oh no, I have to do it this way. Ta-da!
So which kind do you prefer?
I would rather we do it live in Steph's restaurant and we're eating at the same time.
Yeah.
What we did last time. together with Peter.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really nice that evening. I lost my invite. I don't know what happened.
Did you make some arrangements with Peter, or you're not allowed to bring an Irish whiskey into Scotland?
I'm not saying anything.
Okay.
I did Irish whiskey way back. I created a brand for one of my clients called McGilligan's, and it created controversy because I imported the cask into Scotland, and then there were, so I matured some years in Scotland and some years in Ireland, and then at some point people said, "Are you allowed to call it a 10-year-old because it's matured several years in Scotland, several years in Ireland?" So there was controversy about the age statement, and I think I'm trying to remember whether I could use that age statement. I think initially they said because at the time the Irish didn't have the same legal status as Scotch, which is protected. So actually, you can mature Irish outside of Ireland. I'm not sure if that's still the case today, but at the time you still could mature Irish outside of the country.
Mm-hmm.
So you are
blend or...
Mm-hmm. No, this was single malt.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You still
So
saying, you still aren't saying anything about the arrangement, Anthony?
No.
Okay, I want to try it. I just try it till the end. Bart?
Yes.
Where do you put it?
My glass, eh?
With a meal.
Yeah.
Still in his glass.
Still in his glass, yeah.
You could also have it, I would say, also with chocolate dessert, maybe a sort of quite light one, you know.
It's very sweet, eh?
Yeah.
Mm. With
With
ice
some
cream.
chocolate.
Chocolate with some sea salt.
Yeah, if you have like
Pietersentroot.
No. There's a brand. I don't know if it's familiar in Scotland, but it's called Tony Chocoloni, and it has something with sea salt in it, and it's delicious.
Mhm.
And I think it would be quite well with this one.
You can marinate your sultanas in it
Mhm.
and use them with chocolate.
Yep.
Your sultanas.
You can use a tea bag for that one.
Yeah. For your sultanas.
Okay, here we go.
Okay.
Anthony, last weekend there was something in the newspaper, and I got this picture from Kring, Steph's wife. So Steph is going to tell you all about it. Steph, tell us what happened.
I think a journalist got some whiskies, and she made she did the tasting with all of them, and she placed you on with the McWarrior 12 on number 1. You get
Wow.
you get five stars. The other one was Kalila, a Brackman is a Belgian whiskey, the Cotswolds from Dansor, and the Lakes single malts. That was those were those 5 whiskeys she's tasted.
So question number 1. Do you know anybody who's called Simone Welkens?
No.
Are you sure?
I'm not good at remembering names.
Okay, like that. No, but
You show me a picture of her and maybe say yes.
I will search one. But I think it's a nice thing because most of them are not that familiar and the main stage, like we said. But number 1, it's good result, very good result.
It's very good. Surprised.
So
Especially
you're well known now in Belgium because of that paper.
Yeah, and it was in the morning, if I'm right.
No, standard.
Okay, the standard, even better. The
Wow.
Standard is one of the one of the better newspapers in Belgium.
Oh yeah, so it's a newspaper. It's not even a magazine. Wow.
Yeah, it's a magazine included with
Together with
Newspaper, yeah. At the weekend.
yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So
Thank you.
it's not my. I do know nothing.
He's from Kluizen.
Simone.
Don't know anything. Next up, we have the McCallums.
Mac Isles.
Sorry,
Mac.
Isles.
Michael Isles.
So basically, Mac Isles mean Mac from the Isles, except it's more Scottish. The first edition was Mac of the Isles, but the trademark was an issue, so I moved it to Mac O Isles, which means the same thing. It just sounds more Scottish, so it's actually better. Mac O Isles is part of the story of my family. I told you my great grandfather there. They were on the Isle of Bute, and he had his own boat. You can still read about it in the Bute Times. And he used to go at sea and used to go to the islands and collect the barrels from the distilleries and take them back to Glasgow, which was the centre for blending at the time. So he used to collect barrels from the island, malts, and then take them to Glasgow. And that's why I wanted to create this blend of malts. So that's what you call a blended malt. So it's several single malts from the islands, Isla, Jura, Mull, and there's a touch of some other islands as well. I won't reveal them all because if not, I'd be revealing the recipe, which I can't do because you don't know who's listening to us tonight.
Nobody.
It's just us. And two friends of ours.
And Shilton. And Shilton.
The most dangerous one.
But does he know about whiskey?
And then it's then finished in a rum cask. And again, that's why I also do a rum within my range, Mac Explorer, because I need some rum barrels to finish the Mac Wiles once I've blended the malt components of it.
Mm.
So it's an interesting mix because I experimented with rum barrels way back when I started at Ian MacLeod, when nobody was really drinking rum at the time. People were just drinking ordinary rums or very basic rums. And I thought it was an interesting type of cask to use for finishing or maturing whiskey. Go back in history, you've got stories of rum barrels coming back from the traders coming back from the Caribbean with empty barrels and then filling them up with whiskey. So from time to time, you got whiskey matured in rum barrels, but then that was lost over the years. So I wanted to experiment, and what it does to the Macquarie, it absorbs some of the peat from the Isla and then gives your exotic fruit you've got around it. I don't know, maybe you probably don't get banana on that one, Gunter, but you'll get more exotic fruit. I'm getting, I get on it, maybe papaya or some, what's the other one? Not too much pineapple, no, the guayaba. And I love guayaba. It reminds me of when I used to be a swimmer, and one year for between Christmas and New Year, I went on an intensive training course in the Caribbean, and that's what we had every morning. It wasn't orange juice, it was guayaba juice before we went training for 2 hours in the Olympic pool. Okay. That's what it reminds me as well in terms of flavors between guayaba and sort of papaya.
Interesting.
Which rum cask was it? Or what? From which?
It's still Guyana. So British Guyana, so Demerara.
Mm-hmm.
The peat is
you'll get the peat coming through just at the end, and then in between you've got some saltiness, some seaweed.
Mm. Some maritime, yeah. Mm.
But then what's interesting is the exotic fruit, sort of surrounding it and softens everything off. So I sometimes take the image for it as a Scottish oyster which has decided to go away on holiday to the Caribbean.
Yeah.
With his luggage.
Yes.
Oh, I can picture that. I will see that in my sleep this night.
But you're nuts, eh?
The sultanas.
By the way, talking about oysters, sultanas, and nuts. This lady is Simone. She's the one who tasted the whiskeys.
Oh, I don't. I may have seen her. Has she been to some of the festivals?
I don't think so.
No?
Apparently, she's well known in the wine industry.
Mm-hmm.
But
On a
I have
wine
to say,
festival.
I don't know her.
Well, thank you, madam.
We'll send her a message.
With just this part. Thank you, madam.
Yeah. Anthony, you were here a few weeks ago. We didn't have a dinner or something like that because I'm not that good of a cook. But I was able to taste a few of your bottlings you had with you, and I was also the rum base. But there were a lot of them were finished in wine cask. And you told me you're a big wine lover as well. If you had to choose between wine and whiskey, just to drink, not work related, because that's another thing, which one would you choose?
I would have to have both.
You have to choose. You have to choose, Anthony.
I can't choose between the two because they both go together. If you think about what do people use, traditionally, I use port cask. That's it's a fortified wine, but is a wine. If you talk about sherry, it's also wine. So they both go hand in hand. Obviously, bourbon isn't, and I do sometimes some whiskies with bourbon as well. But I do like the wine cask because they give that element of richness and also sweetness that I like because I like rich and my food. If you ever cook for you guys, you'll see there's always a lot of flavor when I cook as well. There's also richness and combination. Sometimes I'll put some exotic fruit, in the cooking as well, to give some extra layers of flavor. And I think that's what the wine casks bring. I won't always use them, and I'll use different ones. As you saw in Altavane, maybe some white wine ones as well, which give more mineral notes and more subtle flavors. But I think I would like to start the dinner with some champagne and then move on.
I'm coming over.
Or sometimes what we do, which is a good thing, when you do a tasting, is to do like free whiskies, and then and have some little food preparations to go with each of the whiskies, and then you do a stop, and then you have some champagne, but what they call champagne non dosé, so without added sugar to it, and that cleans your palate. It'll make it fresh, so you will get every single flavors of the next three whiskies.
That sounds delicious.
It actually has, cleansing purposes for your palate.
That's a nice idea.
I'm using water to clean my palate, but I could use champagne next time.
So that's the reason why I can't choose between one or the other. I have to have both.
Quick question. Your most favorite white wine?
I don't think she has one. When it comes to wine, she's quite easy.
Red, white.
I would say she prefers red. She's not a big fan of white. Actually, she prefers. If I put in front of her a Meursault, she'll really like that.
Oh, yeah. And for you?
For me, I prefer red as well. Yeah. I do like some whites as well. Actually, in the whites, my favorite grape is Viognier, which is an old grape variety which was rediscovered, I think, about 20 years ago. Yeah. You tended to find it in some of the wine blends, and then it was forgotten, and then it was exported to some of the faraway countries, and they started bottling Viognier, and then it started being rediscovered as a grape variety. And I think that's what I like about it, is that it's very original, and it's it's got this old flavour that comes through of like an old variety, and that's what I like. It's the same, as a cook. If you take old varieties of tomatoes, it's amazing the flavours you can find. Now we've rediscovered some of the old varieties of tomatoes, as opposed to Dutch tomatoes, grown in a out of earth centre.
Yeah. Next one.
Next one.
Well, this is a special cask, an 8-year-old Tobermory, which then you'll say, when you get cask, do you know exactly what's going to be in the cask? No, you don't always, because a lot of casks are not marked, and the only way to tell is actually to get a sample and then look at it, taste it, smell it, and you can actually tell what the cask is. Especially when you have a hogshead. A hogshead can come from bourbon, it can come from ex-sherry, it can come from a variety of, original woods. You can have a European oak hogshead, you can have an American oak hogshead. This one, when I tasted it, when I sampled it, I thought, this is not bourbon. I thought, it is sherry, but it's not first fill. But it had enough influence, and for me, it's an Oloroso refill sherry cask. And this one, when I tasted it, I was like, well, and that's how I decide on the strength. I basically taste the sample and then decide on the strength. For me, this was the ultimate cask. You'll see in most of my bottlings, the Arta whiskey is 43.5. The vintages quite often are 46.5 or another strength 51.5. You always have the 5, which is my lucky number. So this was the ultimate cask for me. I decided this one, the best strength was 55.5%. And it has enough flavour to sustain that higher strength. It is rich, but also brings out a lot of the saltiness, the Tobermory, that you lose if you put too much water in it. You've got a bit of the spicy fruitiness from the refill sherry cask. And you've got a bit of marzipan, and it's just got so much going on. And you've got different layers at that strength. So you've got the 3 5s, which give you 3 different layers of flavours.
It's delicious.
This time you're an oyster, but it's gone to holiday to the Costa Brava.
It's a lucky oyster.
I want to be an oyster.
Without his guilt.
and without the tests.
I want an oyster for Santa Claus.
It has character.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's got a lot of going on. I mean, you've got so many different layers, and the second time you're going to drink it, you're going to find new layers of flavors. And again, that's why it's important to taste each cask, because that will determine what I do with it and what strength I choose for each of the casks.
Have you ever done a single cask strength and didn't dilute it?
Yeah, I mean that is very close to cask strength. This one, yeah. You've got to add a little bit of water unless you bottle it first and then print your labels after.
Okay.
The problem is, there's always a drop. So it's the only way you can actually call it cask strength is to pre-bottle it and then print the labels after. Because if not, you're not, the likelihood is that your labels will be not correct.
What do you mean that the strength is changing because of what?
Yeah, during bottling, you're taking the cask out of its wood, therefore it's meeting air, and when it meets air, when you're emptying it, the alcohol evaporates. The angels run away from the cask.
Even then.
Yeah. So then you can lose between 0.5% to 1% in alcohol strength in the process of
bottling.
Yeah.
So when they say it's cask strength, it's not
legally
always
allowed 0.2 of a difference between what your label says and what is in the bottle.
I didn't know that. I thought they measured the alcohol in the cask, and that's what counts for alcohol ABV, but not
No.
what's in the bottle.
Oh no, it's in the bottle. By the time it's bottled, it has to go through a lab and to check the strength. So it's legally correct.
So there's always a difference between the cask and the bottling.
Yeah.
At cask strength. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
So yeah, it's not correct to say it is 100% cask strength, because by the time it comes out of the cask, it loses a bit.
Okay. So we learned a bit today.
Always.
We're always learning.
Sorry, he said always. For some reason, it was like, that's something to do with oysters.
Stef is making some publicity from some other things.
Winter, waar zijn uw gedachten?
Oh.
Have you ever tried to put it on
Always.
Have you ever tried it because you are from Normandy? Try to put some whiskey on a Calvados cask.
I have never attempted, because Calvados is too strong on the apples, and as you know, I worked at Glengoyne, and Glengoyne, the primary flavors are apples, and that you've got these natural flavors in whiskey, and why would you want to add extra by using a Calvados cask? I think using a Calvados cask would be like using a Krieg beer barrel on a whiskey. You're adding far too much. You're actually creating a whiskey which is masked by Calvados, so you're masking the natural flavors of the whiskey. For me, there's some things I won't do, because I don't believe they're going to add, but I think they're going to take away from the whiskey. And so it's not about because I spent some of my younger years in Normandy, that I'm going to use Calvados cask. For me, it's a no using Calvados as far as I'm concerned. And I was quite surprised when the Scotch Whisky Association allowed it within its rules. I'm not sure if it was allowed previously, but it was added to the list of what was possible. And adding tequila casks as well. You won't see me using tequila casks for maturing whiskey. Maybe some of the smoky ones, maybe some mezcal that I could see, but rather than use mezcal, I'd rather use Isla cask if I want some smokiness. I don't see the point of using something from so far away I remember the experience at Ian McLeod when we brought over some wine casks from Australia, and by the time they reached us, most of them were rotten. You know, if you're bringing casks from as far away as Mexico to the UK, you've got to think about in what condition will these casks be when they reach. Okay, you know, tequila is an alcohol, so it's like bourbon, so that you can ship them better than you can for wine. But even though where's your CO2 bringing casks from all the way from Mexico? You're not helping the planet by bringing casks from so far away.
Yeah, but the bourbons coming from America, it's not so very close to it.
True, but you're recycling them.
Okay.
The Americans just throw them away. I mean, that could change if they change the legislation in America and they decide that they can reuse barrels. Then that could be a change also for the whiskey industry.
You will have to make your own cask then.
Yeah, but not with Scottish oak because there's not enough Scottish oak. Most of it's in the Scottish Parliament building.
Yeah.
It changes very much, this whiskey. A lot of that, when you taste it different times, every time is different.
Yeah. That's the interesting thing about higher strength as well. But the thing I dislike about some higher strength whiskies is that they're too strong, and the alcohol then kills the flavors. It kills your palate, so it burns your palate, and that's why I rarely go up to 60%. I would rarely bottle something at 60. It could happen if it was an exceptional cask, but at these levels of strength, the alcohol quite often burns your palate, and from probably see most doctors would say it's not very good for your health times if it's too strong.
I think a friend of you just arrived. Peter Cooney is also asking about the flavor of his Calvados casks.
True. That's true. Peter, I did try it when I was at Steph's, and I must admit it was nice. It was very nice. And again, that proves that you can do it if you don't over mature it in that type of cask. And again, it depends on the whiskey because the Irish whiskey tends to be lighter than some of the Scottish. So some of if you use it for a shorter time and then you're marrying flavors at work, it can work.
So maybe we can.
For my own palate, I have never tried it, but yeah, Peter's one was really good. I must admit it.
So we can ask Peter about the arrangement.
Maybe what I'll do, I'll recycle his Calvados cask.
That's a nice one.
So I've got an Irish and Calvados finish.
A particular one.
And half the price.
Because my great granny was Irish as well, so I've got some Irish blood as well.
So, a person from the world, a world citizen.
So Ben Nevis, 20-year-old. So again, one of these distilleries, which is, I remember that was one of my surprise drams when I was younger that I tried. That was probably some of the first things I tried were Ben Nevis, and I think they're quite special. And for years, they were quite hard to get by because most of it was being shipped to Japan to go into blends, and it's a single malt that's not very well known, and I think it's a very, very good malt. The ones I remember at the beginning of my career were from the 70s, and they were 60s and 70s, and they were fantastic. So this one is from the 90s, and again you can see from the color as well. It went into a special cask as well. You can see the darkness in the color, the richness. And again, you're at the foot of the highest of the Scottish mountains. It's a very rugged area, very cold in the winter. It doesn't get that warm in the summer. So you've got a very, very slow maturation. Also very humid warehouses. So that gives for a special maturation. I quite often find leather in Ben Nevis. It's also sort of leathery notes, and there with the wine cask I use, you're getting also the chocolatey notes. You're getting some of the richness you can also get in sort of PX cask.
So there is a sherry, but finished in a wine cask, eh?
It's in the wine cask, yeah.
Yeah, but before that, it was in a sherry cask.
No, just bourbon.
No?
Bourbon.
It's an Alex Corton.
Yeah.
Bon. Côte de Bon.
Yeah.
Côte d'Or.
Yeah.
Go on.
Alex Corton's one of the sort of big Burgundy wines. And what I like about these casks is that they give me similar flavors to sherry casks.
Yeah.
You can see even in terms of the color, it's natural. It was, very, very pale, similar to that in terms of color before it went into the cask from, a bourbon, refill bourbon barrel. And you can see, the color it reached after a few years in the Alois Corton cask. All that's natural. That's what I say in my tastings is like, this is a proper brunette, this is a proper blonde. They're all natural color, not peroxide.
Do they clean the casks before they're putting the whiskey in it? Do they clean a wine cask or never?
No.
You don't do it, but
I don't know.
no.
Is there still some wine in the cask? No.
No. Well, generally there is a little bit. There's a little bit. Just enough to have some humidity, or else I put a bit of water in it as well during transport.
Mm-hmm.
But you can see the richness, the fullness is just an amazing. And again, that's like the previous one, like the Tobermory. It's a dram that will develop in your glass. You've got to take time on an older whiskey like that. I often, refer it to like a vintage car. I also love vintage cars. And it's like having an old car. You've got to warm the engine. You start the engine, get it to warm before you start driving it. Same for an old whiskey. You've got to warm it in your glass, let it breathe, take its environment, and then, sip it and then drink it slowly. And then you'll see over 10, 15 minutes that you're drinking it, then we'll develop some new flavors.
How long has it matured in a wine cask?
That's my secret.
Oh, okay.
More than 1 year.
Just asking because when does it adapt the colors, the taste of a wine cask after 6 months, after a year, after 2 years?
Color starts coming through after 6 months, but gradually. So then it will progress, and it depends on the cask. It depends on the quality of the cask. You know, it depends if it's a seasoned cask, if it's a proper matured aged cask. There isn't a fixed value. It all depends on the cask itself, on its origin, and what was in it before, and for how long.
Mhm.
And again, you'll look at the strength, and it's 46. That one was what, 46.7 or 8 or
46.7.
yeah.
Yeah.
And again, that is the closest to cask strength. That's basically allowing 1% for bottling.
When you put it in your mouth and you exhale via your nose, you get some. Then you have the wine cask.
Mm-hmm.
Then you really have the taste of the wine in it. That's great.
So it's like a dessert whiskey, but it's also great with a cigar. So I'm a fan also of cigars. I don't smoke cigars that often. Normally, I always take some. It's strange because I will take cigars when I go to Cuba, and I'll smoke them there, and then I'll buy more and then take them back, and then next time, so then they're maturing in Scotland, and then I'll take them back to Cuba and smoke them. Like Scottish Cuban cigars.
Scottish Cuban. So that will be very good with a Cuban cigar.
Yeah.
Bart?
And if you don't smoke, with a tea or something. Electric cigar. An e-cigar. Does that exist already? E-cigars? I don't know.
I hope not.
Food pairing, Bart?
Food pairing,
Yeah.
You know what I would see? A light crust fig tart.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
With a bit of marzipan base, almonds.
A limber supply. Without.
No, like they have on with Santa Claus, the marzipan cigars. I don't know if you know that in Scotland, but we have that in Belgium. So we call it cigars, but it's from marzipan.
With chocolate, yeah.
Both combined, so it's a win-win situation.
It's e-cigars.
Belgium e-cigars.
Yeah.
It's very nice.
It's a really nice one to close up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Nutty flavors also.
With cheese.
We can agree the whole lineup was really
White
nice.
cheese.
Quite surprising.
White cheese?
Mm.
I don't know white cheese. I don't know white cheese.
White.
Oh, white cheese. Oh, yeah.
Some soft white cheese.
I would say it with maybe a goat's cheese.
Mm.
Goat's cheese. The soft one, because I had last night. No, yesterday was it?
Covered with almonds and honey.
Yeah.
And some fleece.
Honey. That's West Flemish, eh? Antony. Honey that means that means stay here. Don't go, honey. Okay.
It's true.
So two Flemish words already. Boy, and honey means don't go, stay here. Okay.
And what means please go?
In Scotland, it's the same. You'll say, honey, come here.
No, honey, well, means stay here. Stay here. Don't go. Honey.
Yeah, but stay here.
Honey.
Stay
Hey,
here.
honey, nee. Blijf hier. Honey. Honey, blijf hier. Go. Stay here. Okay? Ik ken een boy voor u. Hè? Ik ken een boy voor u. Ja.
It's a nice one. To close up.
You know what I mean? Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
So I could say, boy for you, honey.
A boy for you, honey.
Tomorrow morning, it's like, hi Anthony, how was your evening? Some guy told me some West Flemish and it's a bit nuts.
No.
Honey, don't go.
I think that the most easiest part to learn Flemish is West Flemish. You will never understand Limburgs. You will never understand it. Don't try it. Hij heeft het probeerd een keer.
No, actually, the part where I live, it sounds a bit German.
Klaar.
So
But I did visit the area of Limburg, and
yeah,
they have a special accent, but it's really nice. It's
Yeah.
It sings like Scottish,
yep, indeed.
or like
Sing
Swiss German, you know, which is a singing.
In Gaelic, it's almost Gaelic. It's singing too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's talk about Eastern Flanders.
I'm not here. I'm not allowed to talk about Eastern Flanders.
What's their culinary speciality?
What's the what speciality?
Culinary, their food.
The food. Where? In Limburg.
Yeah.
Fly. Fly. It's a kind of.
We have a lot of things. The town where I live is called the is it asparagus in English as well?
Asparagus.
Yeah.
We are very known for asparagus, and I think in Mazeik, the city nearby, they have the knapkoek. It's some kind of yeah. What is it?
Thin biscuit.
A bit, some kind of biscuit. Yeah.
Anneke, aap dat een keer een beetje, je rookt in die turen weer.
And the fly. The fly is a kind of custard tart.
The fly. Yeah.
Geen baai, hè? Geen baai,
When you come over, I will try to get some with me.
Yeah. With crumble on the top.
With crumble, yeah.
Sounds nice.
Every time I'm traveling to Eastern Flanders, when I'm meeting with Steph, it's like his daughter saying, "Don't forget to ask him if he brings a fly."
She doesn't like dessert. She only likes the fly from Limburg.
How do you call it? Fly.
Fly.
Yeah.
Like a.
The fly has to fly over here. Yeah.
She works already.
And Bart, and the specialty from Western Flanders?
Blue sausage, have it.
What?
Black pudding, hè?
Okay.
Black pudding. Blue sausage, hè?
Yeah.
Blood sausages.
Black pudding.
Bloed sausage, hè? Yeah.
Black.
Yeah. And
Anthony, I don't know if you noticed, but even Steph and I don't understand Bart. And he's speaking Flemish at that point.
Well, it's because after drinking my whiskies, it's a mixture between Flemish and Gaelic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a new excuse. Guys, I'm pretty sure we're at the end of the show. So Anthony, thank you very much for joining us. Steph, Bart, it was a pleasure to have you to meet up again. And Anthony, do you have any questions for us? I can imagine if you want to ask when you're coming over to Scotland and when can I cook for you and stuff like this, please go ahead and ask those questions.
No, thank you for inviting me tonight. And and thanks for the surprise of the great reward of the #1 for the McWarrior Brove. That was a lovely surprise, and I look forward to being in Belgium again soon. And for information, the whiskies just arrived this morning in Belgium of the new vintages.
Okay.
I thought it was I thought it would make it easier with Brexit to bring everything into France into a warehouse and then move it across Europe. It wasn't that simple because the French didn't actually understand how to bring whiskey post Brexit. So it's taken time to move from France back into Belgium.
Which ones?
20 kilometers.
Which ones are expected in Belgium now?
All the new vintages that we presented in Ghent
Oh yeah,
at the festival. So
Perfect.
Linkhood, Kalila, Benrinnes, Glenmurray, Glengarry, and there's a new Glenrothes as well in Townyport cask.
Great.
Okay. We're looking forward to have them with us. Guys, is there anything you want to say to the viewers, Steph, Bart? Bart?
Yes. I was thinking of another West Flemish for beginners.
Dat is niet dat het is.
No. Some news and in the meanwhile, Bart can think. For the next show, it's with de grote Mario Groteklaas van de Nectar gaat ons vertellen. Hij stond gepland eind december, maar hij gaat ergens in de loop van januari doorgaan. We moeten nog heel even een datum plannen. We zitten een beetje vast met onze agenda's. Dus Mario die gaat ons nog vergezellen, maar het zal op een ander tijdstip zijn. Het is de linkse, niet de rechtse trouwens. Just to make sure. So, Antony, thank you very much for joining us, and it was a pleasure to have you. So we hopefully we can meet up again very soon in real life, like you said, and have a bite and have a drink.
And a vaccination session.
Vaccination session. 2.3 already now, so and a lot more to come. So to the viewers, thank you very much, and we hope to see you very soon, and it will be in January, like I said. And talk to you soon, and good night, goodbye.
And have a nice festive season.
Prettig jaar.
Doei.
Lots of kids, lots of fun.
Bye.